We are kicking off today with WWE's ongoing QR code mystery, as fans have been drip-fed clues and messages which they believe will lead to the return of Uncle Howdy. Many fans also believe that Howdy, played by Bo Dallas, won't be coming alone, and that the Wyatt 6 faction initially intended for Bray Wyatt will now be under Howdy's control. PW Insider reports that the plan is indeed for a faction connected to the Wyatt IP, with Dallas, Nikki Cross, Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy, and Eric Rowan attached to the project. Rowan and Dallas obviously have history with Bray, which Lumis and Cross have shown dark traits, and Gacy was recently at WWE HQ to discuss his main roster call-up. One name notable by her absence, though, is Alexa Bliss, who has a history with Wyatt, which led fans to believe she would also be a member of this faction. For those members confirmed, they'll bring an intrigue element to the faction, and we'll have to see when WWE finally debuts this exciting new faction on TV. At WWE Backlash France, Jey Uso had an electric entrance as the fans shone their phones in the LDLC arena, which looked similar to the Fireflies fans see in Bray Wyatt tributes. On Instagram, Jey paid tribute to Bray and used Wyatt's old line, "He's here," as though the former world champion is gone, he'll never be forgotten. Backlash also saw an appearance by Tonga Loa, who aided the Bloodline in their street fight with Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, and it was the family who got the win. Now Loa may be in line for a slight name change, as in addition to filing a trademark for Tanga Loa, WWE has filed paperwork for the term Tonga Loa as well. It's possible that WWE will change Tama Tonga's name to the Tonga Loa term, but so far, nothing has been confirmed about the MFT just yet. Loa previously worked in WWE as Camacho before making his name as Tanga Loa elsewhere, and whatever name he goes by, expect big things for the Bloodline's newest member. Now tonight's Raw will see WWE build towards the upcoming King and Queen of the Ring event with first-round matches, but the show could also see an appearance from CM Punk. Punk has been out of action since January for a torn triceps, and while WWE would no doubt love to have Punk on the show, his appearance may come about by sheer accident. On social media recently, Punk revealed that he'd accidentally got himself locked in WWE's headquarters and said he may stick around in Connecticut for the Raw in Hartford. Punk joked that he may become a permanent fixture of WWE's headquarters, a la the Phantom of the Opera, and said that he could live in the place and no one would ever know. We imagine Punk's wife AJ may eventually notice his disappearance, and it's ironic that after years of animosity, Punk is seemingly ready to move in to WWE headquarters. During the Kentucky Derby, WWE finally confirmed that WrestleMania 41 will be at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas and will take place on April 19th and 20th. This will be the latest WrestleMania in the year, and has come as a surprise to some fans, given that Minnesota was initially considered the frontrunner to host the event. In addition to Mania, WWE will host several events throughout the weekend, including the WWE World Fan Event, SmackDown, the Hall of Fame, an NXT event, and Monday Night Raw. This scheduling change also coincides with Easter weekend, prompting questions about the timing of the event now that it's been announced. Brian Alvarez reports that Las Vegas was keen on hosting WrestleMania during what's traditionally a slower weekend for tourism, as Easter weekend sees far fewer visitors to Sin City. While WWE has traditionally avoided events on Easter weekend, the opportunity presented by Las Vegas's interest in holding the event during this time frame led to the scheduling decision. The combination of Las Vegas's desire to boost tourism during a slow weekend and WWE's efforts to avoid conflicting with other major events led to this decision being made. Las Vegas has held just one other WrestleMania, that being Mania 9 at Caesars Palace, and now the biggest wrestling show on the planet is returning to Vegas. The show coming to Vegas is great news for the city, but bad news for Minneapolis, who at one point was confident that they'd be hosting the April 2025 show. Speaking to the Minnesota Tribune, Wendy Blackshaw, president of Minnesota Sports and Events, said that Minneapolis had been a finalist and spoke about WWE's decision, saying, "We were informed by WWE that Minnesota would not host WrestleMania in 2025 due to a change in direction by the new ownership. Although disappointed, we are in discussions with WWE about future events in Minnesota. We are optimistic that Minnesota will host WWE events here in the future. Minneapolis has never hosted WrestleMania, and perhaps they'll have better luck for the 2026 show. And what do you make of WWE's decision? Let us know down in the comments." In the main event of WWE Backlash France, Cody Rhodes retained the undisputed WWE title against AJ Styles, and to the surprise of no one, got a massive ovation in Lyon. Rhodes typically gets the loudest reactions from fans, and the French fans had been especially loud all night long, making for an electric combination as seen in photos. In one photo from a fan who attended Backlash, they revealed that during the "whoa" on Cody's entrance, the arena reached a staggering 115 decibels. For context, exposed listening to noise over 100 decibels can lead to temporary hearing damage, and it just goes to show how excited the fans in Lyon were for the show. A similar incident happened during SmackDown in France, with Triple H tweeting a noise warning he'd received, and with such a response, expect WWE to return in due time. The excitement didn't stop after Rhodes defeated Styles though, as once Backlash went off the air, Cody celebrated with the fans and had a special moment with Philippe Charoux. Charoux had been part of WWE's French commentary team for years and is beloved by the fans, and after the two men shook hands, Cody placed the WWE title on Charoux's shoulder. This spawned another loud response from fans, as the crowd at the LDLC Arena certainly had a blast at the first, but probably not the last, French Premium Live event. More from Cody Rhodes, as it was at WrestleMania 40 that the American Nightmare finished his story and became the first Rhodes family member to officially win a WWE World title. While Cody's brother Dustin is in AEW, the elder Rhodes was able to watch Cody's win in person in Philadelphia in what must have been an emotional night for the entire family. Speaking at the Backlash post-show press conference, Cody was asked about his brother and revealed the brief conversation they had after Cody's monumental victory. He said, "We had the shortest conversation ever at WrestleMania, and it might have been the most important one I had, because I know I'm hard on him, but he's my brother. Before I had a Sting as my favorite wrestler, Shawn Michaels, natural Dustin Rhodes was my favorite wrestler. He just said, 'You're doing it now,' and to hear that, that's just the greatest validation ever." Rhodes and his brother teamed in WWE as both faces and heels and also briefly feuded, but even with them in different companies, the two will support each other every step of the way. With Rhodes' first televised title defense in the history books, attention now turns to who's next for the undisputed WWE champion, and Cody has an idea of who he wants to face. We mentioned yesterday that Rhodes name-dropped LA Knight as a possible opponent, but at the Backlash press conference, Cody reflected on his Mania win and discussed who's next. "One of the gentlemen who was in the ring with me was a huge part of me even being here today. There's multiple who were part of me being here today, but somebody who legitimately took me under his wing, put me in his faction, and again, you kinda wanna find out. I know 10 years ago Randy Orton would wipe the floor with me, but I wonder what it looks like today. Feels like it's the first time ever today, and I mean that with the utmost respect to somebody who has got me to where I am today." A feud between Orton and Rhodes is possible, as both men were selected by SmackDown in the WWE draft, and there's an obvious history between the two from years ago. But what would you like to see next for Cody? A feud with Orton, or a fresh opponent like LA Knight? Perhaps someone new entirely? Let us know down below. Backlash also saw Jade Cargill win her first title in WWE, as she and Bianca Belair dethroned the Kabuki Warriors as WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. Jade got the win for her team after catching Kairi Sane, who dove from the top rope and leveled her with a slam in a spot that many fans may have found very familiar. On Twitter, fans pointed out that this ending sequence was identical to the ending of Jade's match with Sky Blue during the January 6, 2023 Battle of the Belts 5 event. That show saw Jade retain the TBS Championship against Blue, though there was a slight difference as Jade in WWE paused to allow Belair to deal with Asuka. Given that the AEW match was a singles match, there was no need to pause, and Cargill went immediately for the pin. And did you notice this homage to Jade's AEW days at Backlash? It's safe to say the WWE superstars are more edgy on social media in this new era, as Drew McIntyre repeatedly shows, but recently a tweet by Sheamus crossed the line. On tonight's Raw, Sheamus will face Gunther in a King of the Ring first-round match, and given their classic in Cardiff in September 2022, expectations are unsurprisingly high. In the tweet, Sheamus tried to add more sizzle to the match by saying that Gunther is an Austrian with a funny haircut, has a thing for military coats, and proclaims superiority of others. Sheamus added that Gunther hangs out with Germans and betrays his Italian ally, and it was clear which Austrian individual that Sheamus was comparing Gunther to. This sparked an immediate backlash as fans found the tweet tasteless, and Sheamus deleted the tweet and shared another one that was far less controversial. In that second tweet, Sheamus said he'd made Gunther and will break him, and encouraged Giovanni Vinci to call him, teasing an alliance with the ex-Imperium member. This is the kind of tweet that one should come to expect, as while WWE is pushing the envelope with their content, Sheamus' original tweet clearly crossed a line. It was in late 2023 that Kevin Dunn's 40-plus year tenure with WWE ended, and since then, the efforts of Lee Fitting as head of production on the main roster has received praise by fans. There's also been a change to WWE NXT, as Fightful reports that Brian Fatum, formerly the vice president of line producing, stepped into the lead producer role after Dunn's exit. Fatum previously worked with the NFL Network and other sports outlets before joining WWE in April 2013 as a production assistant and has climbed the ranks ever since. Fatum hit the ground running in the WWE NXT role according to sources in production, but he did not produce the most recent episode of WWE NXT. The Spring Breakin' Night 2 show was produced by someone learning how to be the lead producer in NXT, so more changes may be coming to the brand's production soon enough. It wasn't too long ago that the Final Testament came together on WWE TV, but now the group may have already undergone a rebrand. On Instagram, Cross shared a photo of the faction, but in addition to using a Final Testament hashtag, said that this was the Super Heavyweight Death Squad of WWE. Perhaps Cross was referring to AOP, as neither he, Paul Ellering, or Scarlett are super heavyweights, and we'll have to see what's next for the group after being drafted to Raw. It was just a few days ago that news broke of Ethan Page's exit from AEW, with the report stating that if he'd not already left, that his impending departure was a formality. Page has had no problem finding work, as it's been announced he'll be working a Wrestling Revolver event on May 17th, in what'll be his first appearance post-AEW. At WrestleMania 40, Sami Zayn celebrated his Intercontinental Championship win with his wife Khadijah, who was also at the recent episode of Raw in Montreal, Quebec. The second show did not end well for the Zayns, as Khadijah watched on as Chad Gable assaulted her husband, with the Olympian finally fully turning heel. Speaking with the Gorilla Position podcast, Zayn spoke about bringing his wife into wrestling and admitted he was hesitant to the idea at first. He said, "I've been extremely private my whole career and my whole life actually, but I shielded her specifically from it because A, she didn't sign up for it, and B, I just don't think she's built for criticism. The kind of criticism that these monsters online sometimes hurl at us, especially the women or whatever, and I just didn't want to expose her to that." Zayn clearly has warmed to the idea of his wife being involved, but with Chad Gable vowing to dethrone the underdog, Sami may want to keep his wife from upcoming events. During a recent WWE live event, Bayley was set to defend her women's championship against Naomi and Tiffany Stratton, but that wasn't going to fly for Chelsea Green. Alongside Piper Niven, Green interrupted the match, and the bout in France was changed to a 6-woman tag match after Jade Cargill aligned with Bayley and Naomi. That match saw Bayley, Jade, and Naomi get the win, but on social media, many fans questioned why Bianca Belair, Jade's fellow tag team champion, was not involved. The EST was completely absent from the show in France, and after a hard-fought match at Backlash, one can only hope that Belair is not dealing with an injury. Given the curse that's followed the women's tag titles, another injury is the last thing anyone needs, and we'll look to provide an update on Belair's situation when more info is available. Last night, House of Glory Wrestling hosted their Cinco de Mayo event, but one hotly anticipated match planned for the show had to be canceled. The event was supposed to see Pentagon Jr. face his brother Rey Fenix in what would have been a dream match, but during the event, Pentagon revealed that Fenix is not cleared to wrestle. This is a real shame, as fans were excited for the brother versus brother match, and Fenix only recently returned following a 6-month absence to beat the Beast Mortos. Fenix is a former AEW International Champion, and we certainly hope that he'll be cleared to wrestle again soon enough after this latest setback. In February 2023, Jerry Lawler suffered a stroke that led to him experiencing some paralysis on his right side and forced him to induct Andy Kaufman into the WWE Hall of Fame remotely. This was one of several health issues that have plagued the King, who underwent double knee replacement surgery in March of this year, but now he's given a positive update. While doing a virtual signing for East Coast autograph auctions, the WWE Hall of Famer provided an update on his condition and confirmed that he is in good health. He said, "My health is great. I just went over to the doctors to get back on the road for my knee replacement, and then of course, still some minor difficulties from the stroke, but all of that stuff is coming around fast." Lawler makes sporadic appearances for WWE, but obviously is taking a break for his health, and we're wanting to wish him the absolute best on his continued recovery. In the women's tag team match, there was some miscommunication as the referee stopped Kairi Sane from pinning Jade Cargill because he claimed she wasn't the legal person. Despite this, she was still allowed to remain in the ring, which led to her then tagging in Asuka, who was actually illegal at the time. The finish then saw Asuka get pinned even though she wasn't the legal woman for her team, and we'll have to see if this affects the titles and could be grounds for a rematch. Cargill at times looked lost in the ring, which led to fans speculating that she may have suffered a concussion, which is of course the last thing anyone wants right now. There was a part where Cargill missed a clothesline and even fell on the floor several times, seemingly unaware of what was going on, and we just hope that this was impressive selling. And we're ending today with Ric Flair, who has never shied from letting his voice be heard and recently had some sort of confrontation at a restaurant in Gainesville, Georgia. On Twitter, Flair said that he spent $1,500 at the Paisano's Pizza restaurant and took plenty of photos with customers and staff before he was asked to leave. Flair said he was booted for an issue I had with the kitchen manager taking too long in the bathroom and advised people to stay away from the Paisanos in Gainesville. So far, there's been no official response to Flair's complaint, but the next time Flair's in Gainesville, odds are he'll go for a burger or wings instead of some pizza.